the frequency is caught by other people. So like we catch people's vibration and like we vibe like them and we all get sick at the same time. But it's the people who have figured out how to sort of like vibrate themselves through the ailment. It's your body trying to take care of you. And actually, we're like, oh, you got me sick. No, I got you well. I was on my way to wellness, and now you're well too, and we all caught being well from each other. But literally, the flu and just normal sickness, cold, that you want to say it's a virus. No, man. It's you reacting to the vibrations in our reality. And it's such a good point too, Arnie, because like that's the other thing. There are so many bad frequencies in our environment. Wouldn't it be wonderful to at least on some level start to counteract all of the bad frequencies with some good ones? It's something that's a long time coming for me. And it wasn't until the AI recently that it was easy for me to do this, because I've tried to do it with bands in the past, making music that was in healing frequencies. And I mean, look, if I wanted to do this album live, I'd need 10 guitars and 10 basses, all tuned in different capacities. I don't even know if we would need to tune the drums like that, because I've never gotten that far in the process, because usually it falls apart at a certain point. People don't know what I'm talking about. So, being able to go to the AI and be like this, in this tune, and have it just made like that, based on all my songs, it's just incredible. So it's been really fun.
If I'm not mistaken, back in the late 30s, I think they messed with the tuning also.
Yeah.
With, vibration in A.
Well,
and they tuning in A and they made it from 432 to 440. Because
I think
negative impact on the body.
It's a bit of a conspiracy theory, but the propaganda minister for Nazi Germany was using 440 frequency because basically, and this is when it comes to conspiracy, they believe that it was helpful in controlling people's minds and to getting people to do what you wanted them to do. Is that a coincidence? I don't know. I wasn't a conspiracy theorist really when I became a fan of this. I was a teenager. And for me, 440 and 432, go investigate those numbers yourself. 440, there's not a lot of interesting things to say about it. 432, however, oh yeah. I mean, just the mere fact that 963 can be divided into 432, can't do that with 440. I mean, granted, anything divisible by 18, generally you could put 9, 6, and 3 in there. But 432 shows up in nature all over the place. And just in terms of organic, it's like an organic number for the system. And, I personally, I always feel more open, more relaxed, I just get into a really nice state listening to frequency music. But the frequency music that they make is all like, like who wants to listen to that all the time? I can't stand it. So for me, this has been like this bug up my ass for decades now, where I'm like, one of these days, guys, I'm going to make some normal music in these healing frequencies. And when I finally did it, I did it for myself. And I only ended up, turning it into a record after I was having such a good experience with it and, being drawn to different tracks and different frequencies and listening to it. And after a few months, I just said, I should share this with people.
I think it's a brilliant idea because it's going to, number one, the music you create, I love. I think it's great.
Oh, thank you.
And just bringing more awareness out to everybody with it. And let them experience it and let them feel it. Because with it, you're going to feel it from the different tones. Like for me, I did this in 2018. I used the program Audacity. And I researched on YouTube. I got all the little files to tweak with it. And through a chain, I could set everything to 432. So I spent months doing my whole music library that way.
Oh, and yeah, you said that to me. You retuned everything. Yeah, I thought about that myself. But anything that I had released, I couldn't put through the AI because it would scan the system and be like, nah, you can't. That's a professional's song. I'm like, it's my song. Change the frequency for me. But there were songs that I had recorded previously that I never liked what the band did. The band didn't quite get it right. It wasn't quite there. And that was one of the first things I tried to do. I'm like, I'm going to redo. I put in a couple songs. And pretty much every time they would flag me. They'd be like, "Nah, that song's released on the internet." I'm like, technically, yes, it is. Yeah. If I hadn't released all my music, then maybe I could have done that a little bit.
Yeah. But this is really cool. So,
have you guys, Allie, nice to meet you. And have you guys, anybody done any of like the sound healing? I had the session.
I do short tone hertz. So
okay.
I take the pure tone versions of things. I'll put it against my bathtub, and I'll let it reverberate and echo within the shower.
Like binaural beats?
No, like pure tone hertz.
Oh, just like tones of the frequency. Oh, neat. I was messing with some of the at a certain point. I had my AI, a different program, give me plain tones, and I had been listening to them. So you just like long tones that are just in a frequency, and you just listen to that. Do you hear it? Does it like fade into the background?
It reverberates in the water. It reverberates in the shower, and after I stop it, I am like
vibrating. Oh, it's so opening. Like it's such a heart opening. Up crown chakra opening. That's really my hope. Like you guys can appreciate this because it's a little bit like I'm like that gay guy trying to get that straight guy to sleep with him. I'm like, I've made some frequency. We're about to open your kundalini. And there's a part of me that's like, I'm gonna blow these motherfuckers. So I'm hoping people will be listening to this and they're just gonna start having past life regressions and stuff as we open them up to the higher frequencies. But don't tell. Shh. That's what I'm really hoping is going to happen. What about you, Janine? Have you done any like sound healing, like with the pitchforks?
Oh, sorry about that. I was muted. Yeah, I have. I actually did a lot of this stuff. I'm a little more seasoned, so I'd have to say going back about 30 years ago, we did a lot of Reiki. We did a lot of tuning forks. We just did a lot of the what do you call it? The bowls.
Singing bowls.
Yeah, the singing bowl. Yeah, I've done a lot of those. And just it was almost like a natural thing when you walked into the room. You would clear the energy with chimes, just to break up the energies. So yeah, I have done a lot.
It's funny you say that, like, because I tend to think about it now of like when you see the frog on the lily pad and he's vibrating and you see all the rippling going out into the water. It's like a visual version of what's really happening whenever you hit these tones, and then it goes and people say, "I'm clearing the space." Well, that's what the a bunch of even hits that way. People who don't understand what like music really is. It's when you hit a note and you're flat or you're sharp, right? Sharp means you've gone too far in one direction. Flat means you've gone not far enough, right? The magic is you hit it right in the middle, right? And that's the tone. However, contained within the tone is all of the tones. You've hit the tone, and then there is correspondence, amongst all of the octaves that goes out, and it just goes quieter and quieter and quieter and quieter and quieter. So like when you hit a tone, you're actually hitting everything, bang, and it's just and reconfiguring, all of the energy in the space. I had done I worked for a little while to learn about stones at a place on Long Island that isn't there anymore, called Tranquility Within, and my friend Christine had done a little sound healing thing on me. And when I started, I was asking her what all the frequencies were. And I was just like, these are all the solfeggio tones. That's generally what, you get worked on. And that was, some of the beginning of me starting to figure out, let me make an album like this. And, there's a lot of dimensions to writing a melody, writing a song. The speed, the pace of the song. Then within the speed of the song, there is how does it feel? Because you can cut that speed in half. You can put it into eighths. You can fill up that space, or you can leave it open. How does it feel? How is it moving through that space? And then there is, a lot of people will compliment me when I sing cover songs because, they usually don't compliment this, but what they're complimenting is my resonance. I am listening to the song and I'm attempting to connect with the meaning of the words. When we have a comedian we like or an actor we like, generally speaking, we like them because they speak with really great resonance. The way they say the thing, just it feels authentic and it feels very, you can almost understand what it is they're saying from how they say it and not so much from the words themselves. Energy is being communicated, right? That part of, I want the energy of the lyrics and the melody and the speed and the approach to match with the energy of the frequencies that everything's being recorded in. So, when I went down there, like my best example of this is A Little Selfish on the album, because generally speaking, I don't write selfishly. I try to really write universally, things that we will all be able to appreciate and understand, and kind of leave the door open for somebody else's experience, which might be a little bit different than my own. So it's only occasionally that I will do. Yes, sorry. Did somebody say something? Oh, so I said it's only occasionally that I'll do a song that's like for me. For me in particular, like this one I wrote for me. There's a song on the record called "Rock the Cradle." And I had done this reality TV show. It was the children of celebrities in a battle of the bands to see who was the reigning, who had their parents' abilities, right? And I had such a terrible experience on the show. I'm very high functioning autistic. I'm very innocent, and they would interview me for hours to get me to say little snippets. They just asked me questions a million different times until they finally got me to say it close to the way they wanted me to say it. And then when I would, on the live show, we would see these video packages and they play them, and they made me look like a diva every week. Every week. Like literally there was one moment where one of my friends on the show, Lucy Walsh, she was mad at me because I was helping the other contestants. And she was lecturing me that I should stop helping them. And they happened to capture her at the very end where she said something to me like, well, maybe not everybody wants your advice. And literally the conversation was about how people were asking me, because I had a lot of experience performing. I had done a really good job on episode 1. So they started coming to me going, you perform a lot. What do you think? And I'd be like, oh, let me do this, try this. Because I wanted to win because I was great, not because, they sucked. So I was trying to help them, but she was like, let them lose. And they managed to take a little snippet of a conversation with one of the other contestants where she's telling me to stop being helpful. And they made me look like I was overbearing. And I'm like going around going, maybe you should do this. Maybe you should do that. I think I'm so great. Like, it was really messed up. So I wrote this whole song. And, and it was... what is it? It repairs DNA, heals relationships, attracts soul. Which one was it? But it was basically to heal pain, heal like trauma. And I just went, rock the cradle. I got to heal the trauma. I have so much trauma from this. I'm going to record in this frequency to heal the trauma associated with this thing. Which after I finished it, there was a part of me that was like, well, is this selfish? Like, is this still going to help other people, or did this just help me to clear the trauma? But anyway you slice it, I'm appropriately utilizing these frequencies to get the most out of it, and really like just as deeply, multidimensionally thinking about the music that's being produced as the end result. And it's really... nothing's thought about this much, like on this level, just because most people don't have that depth of understanding. And especially, generally speaking, when you listen to modern music, the artist isn't the fucking artist. The artist is the people who they got to write the songs for them and produce the thing for them. They're not involved in the production. There's people like Eminem who are like studio dogs, and they're sitting there, and there are people like B.O.B. and there are artists who are the producers, but it's rare. It's it's like a few percentage of 100%. It's like maybe it's 97% of them have no real deep connection. Somebody else is trying to provide you with that depth. And the last thing I'll say too is the modern music industry and all industry has become so superficial. They will give you so many silly notes. I remember I had a song that I had written that I really liked a lot. It was it went like this. It was I'm just a bird in a tree, innocent as a little girl. I hope that no one sneaks up on me, because no one's ever rocked my world, right? And the note that came back from a big industry producer was, "Oh, you got to change that lyric, being innocent as a little girl." And I said, "What do you? Why? What's more innocent than a little girl? A little boy isn't thought of as innocent. A little boy is thought of as mischievous. You know, that's the shorthand for little boy. Shorthand for little girl is I'm pure. I haven't been harmed in any way. I'm still innocent." And that's what I'm trying to get at. It's stupid. Somebody who's going to sit there and go, "What are you, gay? You said you're innocent as a little..." Like, whoa, wait. So you want me to go back in, punch into the song, take out that little section, change just that lyric, because that lyric, people are going to think you're gay. Don't do that. That sort of Swiss cheese song making where you like punch a hole, fix that one lyric, fix that one word, fix that one. Ooh, people don't understand the damage they're doing to the music, because art is organic. The highest form of like resonance that you can get into the music is when everything's clicking. You know, you're all in a room together, or you're separately doing it, but tuning into each other, getting that, like, you know, getting into that energetic state. To tune yourself into the right energetic state for just a moment to do like some punch creates all sorts of little like frayed edges and things. And I saw it with a lot of different friends of mine who had been noted to death by the music industry. This is half the reason why I left. And they destroyed one of the greatest pop records I'd ever heard in my life. It was mind-blowing. This lady, her name's Ivy Levin. You can still find some of her stuff online. My producer buddy, Lucas Banker, one of my best friends, he's one of the most brilliant songwriters I know. And I was privy to the early albums that they were making, and they had gotten one of the greatest record deals that had ever been offered to anybody. But it was a problem for the industry, because if he succeeded, he would be the new biggest record producer on planet Earth. And the big record producers, they didn't want that. And they literally sabotaged his record with notes. And I listened to the first draft of everything, and I was blown away. I'm like, oh my God, I heard it first. I'm one of the ones who knows what's coming. Oh my, I couldn't wait for what was about to happen. My friend he was, woo, I love it when my friends succeed. I was so excited to see it happen. And then I went back to his house a couple weeks later to hear round 2 after their notes.
Right.
It was very disappointing.
Hey, Jesse, I got a question.
Sure.
All right, so back in the 70s, they had what they called one-hit wonders, because people didn't want to conform to these guys that were, you know, trying to pigeonhole them into certain contracts and change their music and do what they wanted to do and not let the artists be artists. So now we fast forward to 2025, you have people like Jesse Wells, Oliver Anthony, all these guys out there that are just making their own music, and they're just, you know, they've got 1 million or 2 million followers out there. They have nobody pigeonholing them into contracts or anything. They're being more successful as an influencer with whatever meaning is behind their song, right? It's got a lot to do with today's culture. How are you approaching your music in the future? Like, are you going to kind of go independently like they have, or are you going to kind of still go with the way all the artists have gone in the past?
No, I'll never sell my soul, period. Not at all. I will license my music. You know, like they can borrow it. You know, they can utilize it. You know, I'm willing to make deals with various people. But no, absolutely not. I really consider what I do very holy, and I don't trust the system at all. And I believe that the intent and, you know, the resonance runs deep. You know, essentially, like, to do that would be to like weaponize myself in a bad way. You know, that thing about resonance, you know, like I don't want to say this, Me and my high functioning autism sometimes sounds like arrogance. But I'm not arrogant. I've just been working for a very long time at this on a very deep level, working with the plant medicine and coming to a much deeper understanding of like what it means to have resonance, what it means to, do these things in a deep way that might connect with people on a larger scale. And, I really take it very seriously. So,
hey,
at this,
Jesse, you want to? We've got 3 channels that we're announcing now to right now. Do you want to tell people who you are? Because I see some people out on Rumble right now. You don't see the Rumble chats. So there's a few people out there. Do you want to kind of go over your background? Because we kind of just jumped into this just let people know, who you are.
So I'm a weirdo. A lot of people know me as the son of G. Snider. The Snider family is a wonderful, wonderful family. We've all become very spiritual over the years. Even my dad finally, nails on the ground. We finally got it. He's about to do ayahuasca and a couple other things because he's dealing with some health issues. And he's like, all right, whatever you guys recommend at this point. So we're really like, we've cracked this. Our family is responsible for opening up a crack in the dimensions. And I really want to see that continue to expand. So I make music. I have my own company now. I've worked as a comic book writer and as a musician, all my life. And if you listen to or watch ESPN, NASCAR, Monday Night Football, things like that, I've had tons of background music. So you probably heard my music. You probably heard my voice. I'm a voiceover actor. I'm probably the most famous, but you don't know my face. You just know my voice in my age demographic. I'm 43 years old. I was a voice of Pizza Hut and GameStop and Kia Motors and so many different companies. I'm still the narrator for Food Paradise on Discovery Channel. Next on Food Paradise, we've got burgers the size of your head. So I use my mouth for a living. And with comic books, I've worked for Marvel, for DC, and Disney, Pixar, the Muppets, all of these companies. They're all the same. It's all the same problems creatively. It's all the same problems execution-wise. The management, the managers, they don't fucking know what they're doing. They inject various politics and various things of the moment into the art, and it's worse because of it. The whole system needs to change, fundamentally. And I got very frustrated around 30. So I was straight edge my whole life. At 28 years old, I was convinced to try some marijuana. That clued me in to the fact that I had anxiety, like really major anxiety. I didn't know. I was just living with it all the time. Like I was just free like this, and then all of a sudden I smoke a little and I was, hey, is this how other people feel? This is great. I like this better. And then about a year later was my big snapping into place, which was Steve Jobs said, if not for an LSD trip in college, he would never have created Apple computers. And I took that very seriously as a young atheist and a young non-spiritualist and a straight edge guy. And after I had such a good experience with the marijuana, I went, maybe it's time to try what Steve said. And I went and I researched for months, LSD and psilocybin kept coming up. And ultimately I decided I liked psilocybin better based on all the descriptions. It was natural. And I was like, I'm going to try that one. So when I did the mushrooms, they like shifted me from being terrified of my own shadow to actually recognizing who I was, what I did, what level of capability I had. And I just sort of like in a moment I went, I'm very good at this. Why am I worrying about it? Like I have something to offer. Like I need to stop that. Like I need to accept that I've earned my place here and I worked very hard to do that. And I need to just like do this on my own because the system and even like like my father and my mother to this day, no big deal, mom and dad. I love you guys, but they're older and they're used to seeing the system validate the things that are meant to proceed. But when you're really at the cutting edge, we're at a time where everything's changing and shifting. And to be smart and to be brave nowadays is to be thought a lunatic. And on a lot of levels, they were just sort of like, I don't know. Jesse's like the most talented person I know, but on some levels, I think he may be a lunatic. And they were really like waiting for me to be validated by the system. And I had this sort of like thing of like, do I conform to the system so that I can take what's mine now that I'm like, you know, in cognizant understanding of like, I deserve to be here? Or do I say, fuck this stupid system and just move on and start doing this myself? And I of course, I chose the worst possible time to do this, as like I was making a lot of money at the time. I was the voice of Kia Motors and Food Paradise. All this stuff was going at once, and I invested in myself, in comics and in music and all these things to create my company, Blacklight District Studios. But at the time, well, all my jobs ended at once, and then I was in like a money pit because I was still producing the things. Like I still had people that I needed to pay to finish a couple things, and I didn't have any money to promote anything. And then within a short period of time, I had 2 fires. I lost all of my personal belongings, and I separated from my wife. And all of a sudden, I had like 2 mortgages, you know, essentially. And it just became like this overwhelming thing. And then I put my comic, my first Kickstarter was on Indiegogo. Well, not Kickstarter. My first Indiegogo was a fundraiser, and they shadow banned me, and I didn't even know for 3 years. So I like went right back into like this depression, like, no, I'm not good enough. I don't do the good things. People don't like me. And then I found out that I was shadow banned because it was a mature comic book that I had created, King of Kings. Oh yeah, this is Blacklight District, which came out through Image Comics a few years ago. So I started again, and I did it this time. I did it on Kickstarter, and I made like $6,000. And then I did another comic book, and we made like $9,000, or maybe a little more than that. And then, you know, and then my friend did his campaign. He made like $18,000. So we've been like building in the space, you know, and really, for those of you, I encourage everybody out there, utilize these freaking platforms. Take your power, go do it yourself. If you got something in your heart that you know needs to be done, if something needs to change, do it. Go do it. Don't be afraid. Really, the more you do it, the more experience you have with it. You know, there's plenty of people talking about it online. You can go research it yourself. But really, it's a numbers game. You know, as you do it, you get more access to more people. The website will show you to more people. There's a whole bunch of things that happen within the algorithms once you're on your 3rd, 4th, 5th campaign. So, you know, we've been just like growing over time. But oh yeah, I just like fell on my face spiritually. And of course, all of this I did whilst under the influence of ayahuasca and all these other things who are just advising me to do what's right in my heart and all these things. And every single time I think, oh, things are about to turn around because I'm being authentic, my life would just sort of like blow up in my face. And I'd be like, oh yeah, what's going on here? And they'd always say the same thing. They'd be like, this is a mirror to show you what is really happening here, what you like, what you don't like. We're just providing you an echo of like what you're kind of, not to say what you're putting out, but like how this responds to you. You know, like you're trying to play in a system that doesn't want to play like this. And you know, so that kind of was a slow go for me. And honestly, I don't know if I had a chance to tell Arnie this, but I fell out the bottom of the rabbit hole 4 months ago. I like cured myself emotionally. I was really like coming to a place of balance where like I loved myself, which loving myself, that was the hardest one for me. I just always kind of hated myself because of the results I was getting. Because I love people and I just wanted to be friends. And everywhere I went, it's just like, let's make friends. You know, and then when like somebody like, Jesse's an egomaniac, you know, like he talks too much, you know, he's talking about himself. And I was like, oh, I would talk about myself when I was little because I was really insecure. So I was like, I do things, I make comics, you know, like because I wanted them to like me. Then I found out that was making them not like me. Yeah. So slowly you like work through all these layers of like how you're being perceived by your reality. And I finally got to a point of like, I'm clean. And I felt good. And I felt so good to quit smoking marijuana like daily. I used to smoke 3 times a day, you know. And when I stopped, part of me stopping was that I wanted to stop because when I use it spiritually, I I get so high. I open myself up to other dimensions, the clarity, the songs that come to me. You know, I get the same place on mushrooms. I get the same place on ayahuasca, but I have ayahuasca experiences on marijuana when I just don't smoke that much. Like tonight, I'm gonna go home and I've been with my kids for the weekend. I haven't smoked in like 5 days, something like that. But I'm gonna go tonight because I've been stressed from the Kickstarter. I'm gonna go smoke. I'm gonna lay down and meditate, and I'm gonna blast off. And I'm gonna get so much perspective. It's gonna be amazing. However, what happened when I quit and I started smoking once a week, I started having ayahuasca experiences, and it basically returned me to the very beginning of working with plant medicine, which was an exploration of taboos that I know most humans would not be able to get through. Some of the initial taboos that like will come up if you take like psilocybin in high doses, do like the Terrence McKenna dose, is like a mother and a sis and a child, they could be sexually yuck. But there is an appropriate time for everything. You can't judge everything blanket. You can't just put up a wall. There's some animals that operate like that. There's some species that operate like that. Sometimes it's okay for them. And if it's okay for them, and if it's alignment with love and caring and mutual respect and oneness, then it's fine. And you can't be sitting there going, oh, that's weird, you're weird, So putting away the taboos, those initial ones was really easy for me. And it's one of the reasons why I've done so well with the psychedelic plant medicine, because when those taboos would come up, as an intellectual, I would just kind of go, okay, I get this. And they'd go, great. And then they would just blow me past a bunch of other things and like open up the doors. And the conversation would just always be a looser thing because I wasn't holding on to these walls that had to be up all the time, so like that's why they try to get you to let go of these taboos. But the new realm of taboos that I had to deal with 6 months ago was the fucking walls of this reality, of this dimension, how everything is stacked on top of each other, including not just the dimensions and other dimensions that are like literally like they kept showing it to me like I'm like my foot is stuck and I'm like trying to get it out. Like it's like stuck in that, get it out. I'm with all that. I'm so one with all of these consciousnesses that like freak me out, like, and I'm experiencing some of these consciousnesses. I'm like, I don't want to be one with that. That's weird. I don't want to be one with that either. That's weird. Everything's weird. This is weird. Everything's weird. But I kept like getting through it. And I just kept going like, okay. All right. I get it. And then it'd be a new one. They'd pull my doors off again. I'd be like, okay. I get it. And then again and again. And finally, they brought me to a realization that I had before on psilocybin, definitely. And I think 2 or 3 times. And I made myself forget this because it'll be okay for you guys to hear me say this right now. But to experience it as viscerally as I was experiencing it when the information was shared with me on these medicines really freaked me out. Because I consider myself an intellectual. I'm a thinking man. I'm just always trying to understand the parameters of the thing, trying to find a leverage point, where I can go, okay, I see what's going on here. All we got to do is right here, and there we go, right? Magic. So they showed me in a visceral way the evolution of consciousness. And essentially what happens to somebody like me is I eventually get to a point where I go, you know what? It was more fun when I didn't know anything. I'm going to forget it all and start again. The first time they told me that, I went, what? What? No. I'm just going to pretend you didn't say that. And I just threw it out of my brain. And then the third time it happened 6 months ago, I finally accepted it. It came in and I went, oh, crap, you guys have told me that before. Why do I keep doing all these plant medicines? I hated finding out that. I don't want to. I made myself forget about that. And I literally, at a certain point in the session, I said, well, I'm never doing this again. And of course, I was back the next night trying to get information from the gods. Like, okay, you got to explain a few more things to me. But they were showing me, this is the final bit. We are in a matrix. It is a matrix. It is a computer matrix. There is things outside of this place. This place is very specific, and it's kind of forcing us to go along with energetic tides. The tide's going and the tide's coming, and it's really bossing us around. It's pushing us around. To some degree, in truly understanding the oneness of the multiple dimensions and lower consciousness, all these things that are all tied together in like one freaking ball, and that we have to like pull ourselves out of it, like, and be like a fourth wall breaking Deadpool. You know, we're like, haha, I see what it is. There it is. I see it. And I mean, they were literally showing me that everything is us trying to describe it. What is it? It's it. What is it? It's it. Everything is essentially a finger pointing back at nothing, because we're just consciousness. We're just an idea. And this matrix machine is just kind of cranking along, creating all different energies, all different interpretations of things, all different shapes of things. Everything that can be thought of will be thought of. Seeing it in such a long perspective, truncated, it freaked me out so bad, because I thought that basically I had to skip over everything. I was like, oh, well, now it's over. As soon as everybody knows that we're all one, we'll just start vibrating together, and then the whole universe will disappear. Like that, like, oh my God, I'm like, I can't handle this right now. And I remember the spirits came and they told me, it's okay. You're going to have all the time you need with all the ones you love. They may come back in a different form, but you're going to have all the time you need with all the ones you love. And, you know, that calmed me down. And I started to like, sort of like wrap my head around this thing. Because the end of it was like, you are a thought. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm a thought in this matrix, which essentially is like, I've been raped alive. I was potential energy. And then, whoom, we need something. We need somebody to be that animal. We need somebody to be that. And here I am. I'm alive. And the souled beings on planet Earth are basically the ones who went, you know, I want to go deeper in this experience. I want to have more of this. You know, I want to continue down this path. But a lot of us, the backdrop people and the backdrop animals and all the other stuff, it's just potential energy that has been turned into stuff. And I'm like stuck in here. And I realized that the only thing that I could do to prevent my existence from being rape was enjoy every freaking moment of it. Because I was forced here into this thing. I was brought into this thing. I'm a slightly different case as far as I've been told, as far as I understand. I'm a different being. I'm not from this place. And that's why I don't really like the nature of the Matrix, because I don't belong here. I'm not from here. So when they were explaining it to me, I was just like, no, I don't like that. I make the thing with my mind. Like, and they were like, yes and no. Like, you're stuck in this thing. But knowing that I came from something else that is more of what I kind of expected things to be, which was like, you know, there was some passion and some love and like an inspiration, and that led to some things. And, you know, some primordial thoughts that came out of the inevitable nothing, you know, turning into something. But this place is different. And really, in order to properly, you know, enjoy life on Earth, we really do have to make a concerted effort to be as authentic as possible, to always choose our joy. They were telling me that the multiverse is made up of all the joy that we didn't select. And I went, whoa, wait a second. The multiverse isn't just like, here's Jesse with one arm. Like, no, we don't need that. Like Jesse with one arm doesn't help us. You know, yeah, it's what we have is Jesse was on the path, and then he got scared off his path by a couple people or a couple situations. He was supposed to keep walking forward, and he made a left. But we didn't want to lose the straight path, so we kept it going for him on another level. That's the multiverse. The multiverse is filled with all the paths you should have taken, but you didn't. That's why eventually the multiverse can catch up to itself. It can like reestablish itself. It's funny, in the Marvel universe, they're doing this thing where, yeah, it's the expanded thing is slowly truncating. And they were explaining to me that essentially right now our souls are split into lots of different pieces because of all this multifacial, you know, thing that's going on. So the way to, you know, bring yourself into coherence was to be authentic and consistent. The moment you start behaving deadly consistent, there's no multiverse. You are now one being, and every person, whoever interacts with you, is always interacting with that same person. Because there's only one you in existence, because there couldn't be another, because you figured out your own personal equilibrium and you brought yourself into realness and wholeness. So, to wrap this whole thing up, I just had like my doors completely blown off. And I don't know if I've mentioned this to you before, Arnie, but like people like Arnie, who, of the same hearts and minds, I call us the architects of the inevitable, because something like turn the other cheek is an inevitable realization. I'm one with you, you're one with me. If I hurt you, this is just going to be energy that I have to resolve in the future. So you know what? I don't want to waste my time with that. So I'm just going to be nice to you, you be nice to me, and then we continue forward. Another one that most spiritual people have gotten to is the now. Oh my God, man, it's so big that makes this so small, and this is so small that it's special, and it's never going to be like this again, and we might as well love and appreciate it and really get the most out of it right now while we can. But the one that I could not get to until this moment was the inevitable realization of faith, because I was having this God experience, and I was seeing everything. I mean, just so much more. Like, I don't have it all now because I begged them. I said, you got to take this information away from me. The metaphor that I used was, there used to be something, if you're around my age, I'm 43, there was a Game Genie on the Nintendo. You would plug it into the Nintendo, and then you could type in these codes, and then it would hack the game. So I remember I hacked Mario Brothers, and I had the moonwalk where you jump on the top of the screen. I beat the game in less than a half an hour, and I never played it again. I wasn't interested anymore. All the mystery, all the excitement about the challenge of it was gone, and I was no longer interested in playing the game. And in this moment of this God experience where I'm just seeing the past, the present, and the future, and like all these layers, and I just went, oh my God, I don't want to be on moonwalk mode. I don't want to play the game anymore. Like, damn it. Like, I said, God, you got to get rid of this information. Like, do I have to remember all this? And he said, you have to remember some of it. You have to remember the concept, the overall concept. But yes, I will help you forget a lot of these details that will affect your enjoyment and your perspective. I will help you get rid of those things. But you need to understand that is what I do. That's what I'm doing all the time for everyone. You can't hold all the perspectives. It makes it less fun. When you can see the end and the beginning and the middle, like all of it at once is not a fun perspective. The fun perspective is when it's a mystery and you're hopeful and optimistic. That's why faith is inevitable and is necessary. Just have faith, because the person most qualified to be controlling what you know so that you can be the most surprised and in the most enjoyment all the time is me. And you don't want to be me. As you can see, this isn't fun the way it's fun for you, where you have this limited perspective and there's so many things about it that you can put meaning to. But for me, in this larger perspective, it's really kind of hard for me to give meaning to anything because it's all just a blur that I'm experiencing at once. And I can give you some meaning, but it's all based on the meaning that I'm experiencing through you. I need you to be God. I need you to be the boots on the ground, and you've gotten to the point where like I can tell you that because I know you're not going to go out in the world and go, I'm God, and be a jerk to everybody. But you're going, oh, okay, I got to go out into the world and be God, meaning I need to be a part of the machine that knows what it is. And is trying to operate from that place of oneness, and mentalism and all the things that, we know are the truth of reality. I need to be operating that way. And so I just left this situation in a catatonic state, really. Like for 3 weeks, I didn't talk to anybody. I was just quiet and just, I'm a happy little thought. I'm not from this place. Being a happy little thought made me feel really small. But at the same time, they were telling me all these big things about what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to go and share this energy. I was supposed to go and I was supposed to continue with comics and continue with music and do all these things and, kind of forming new communities and new systems that aren't going to exactly look like the systems that we have and probably won't immediately appeal to so many people who are thinking superficially and want to be in the old systems, So it's going to be a lot of new people who are open to the idea of these new systems and have an actual appreciation for some of the things I might be saying right now, like some of the people in the comments and stuff. That there's a whole new thing. So on one level, I felt like so small. I'm just this thought stuck in this powerful matrix. It's just like, wow, like over and over again, smashing into things. And then at the same time, I'm like a big deal. And I'm supposed to like go out of the world and affect people with my vibration, which is largely not telling people like, what to do. Mostly it's just showing up like this and being passionate and having love in your heart and people being able to see that and be able to connect with it. But of course, conversations like this don't hurt either when you have some open-minded people and you can start to move the goalpost. But it really just left me in awe. And then slowly but surely, I like came back from the brink. And honestly, the first big realization after 3 weeks was the campaign that I'm doing right now for the frequency music. It had been suggested to me that I do a box set of all my music, and I didn't want to do it because it was kind of been there, done that. I'd already put out all these albums and stuff, and I like didn't want to go back and like revisit everything. It just seemed like me having to do a bunch of work that I'd already done. And but the one album that I really had a bug up my ass about and wanted to talk about, I had just released. It was the Solfeggio transmissions, and people didn't really seem to understand that. And after 3 weeks, I went, instead of a box set, I could just do a campaign just for the Solfeggio frequencies. And I could just make it all about raising awareness for these healing frequencies. Like, I believe in that. Like, that's important to me. And I just, as soon as I realized, I just went, that's what I'm going to do. Woohoo! Like, I'm happy. Yay, that makes me happy. Like, I don't feel like I'm like a egotist. I feel like I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So it was a wonderful experience ultimately, but at the time when I was going through this, and honestly, what I experienced, I hope none of you ever go through what I experienced, the way I experienced. It was scary as hell. I mean, really, I do not recommend it at all. Have faith. Try to enjoy this because seeing how the sausage is made, oh my God, it was not awesome, and that is like the lightest way that I could say it. It scared me to death, and and I feel scared straight. Basically, like I was like, okay, I'll have faith. I got it. No need to go to Peru to do ayahuasca anymore.
You're being initiated, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I'm very similar to you, not as high standards, but.
Oh, I see you, Allie. You're so on the level. I mean, because it's not everybody would go, oh yes, to some of the things I'm saying, because some of them sound a little crazy, even though there's sense there, right?
I sound just like you. I sound just like you.
And you're on the right track, and you're not crazy. It's so funny. I feel like that has been my job of late, going around making people like you feel a little less crazy. I have my friend Trixie, who I met a few months ago at a casino with my buddy David Alusik, and and she was going through this period of time where she just felt completely rejected by everybody in her reality for all these things that she believed, and she was feeling just so treaded upon, just like everybody was just trying to like do her dirty, like and talk her down for these beliefs that she held. And then in walks Jesse Blaze Snider, and I'm like, you're saying all the things I believe, and she just went like, you don't understand. This is like so important that I met you. Thank you. I've never heard anybody say any of these things but me. And that's, me and my buddy Michael Zinn, who Arnie, I think, is friends with, we used to do a show called, or Michael still does it, called The Live Stream of Consciousness. And the whole idea for the live stream of consciousness was that everybody had a different path to get to spirituality, whether it was near-death experiences or, psychedelics, everybody would do it differently. And I don't think we ever got the same story twice. Everybody just like one unique story after another. And I thought, and Michael thought, if we just collected enough of the individual stories of ascending, that people would start to see the through line, there and see, well, what's basically going on amongst all these people. And then because if you just compare one to another, like they don't be really good. Most people's experience from one person to another person is very different. But if you compare like 100 at once, you will start to see some parallels there. And that's when, an educated person can start to go, all right, maybe there is something to this experience that other people are having, which for whatever reason is important to me because I used to be an atheist, and I'm the one who's going to get left behind because I don't believe in any of that. I'm so closed to all this energy and all these things. So I feel like I was like sent here to learn as much as I could in great detail so that I could bring it back to people who are closed-minded to it and be able to, scientifically lead them there. There is absolutely something going on here. It's very real, but it's hard to get the proof that you need. You really need to open your mind and just start absorbing a lot of information until you start to go, oh, I see the pattern there. I see the pattern there. And at that point, you're done. You'll know. You're like, okay, I've seen enough, and you'll be in it, and you'll be in the flow, and synchronicities will start coming, and your whole life will start changing as soon as you do that. But it's going to take somebody like me, I think, to open up that door for a lot of people, so they don't have to have a near-death experience. Even
That's so true. So true.
Oh yeah, it does. That's everything you do, man. Charlene, everything you do is a ripple in a big pond. Everything, every single thing. Me moving my hand like this, it is rippling. And quantum physics has already proven this. Like they will separate molecules and have them at a great distance, and anything you do to the thing over here, it happens to the thing over here. How is that happening? Yeah, everything's entangled, and everything is entangled. There's different layers, to the entanglement. There's this deep entanglement of like that's your cell, but I'm entangled with Allie. I'm entangled with Arnie. I'm entangled with Janine. This experience that I went through, I got to a certain point where my guides were like congratulating me. Apparently, nobody had ever done what I had done before. I think now there's some more people who have caught up, even in these past few months. But I am currently embodying 6-dimensional consciousness in a human body, and that had never happened before. Apparently, 4 or 5 months ago, I was the first person to do it. They told me, the disembodied voices told me I was the first person to do it. Take it with a grain of salt, but they said, "Congratulations! You have no idea what a big deal this is," and I'm still freaking out. I'm just a thought, I'm like, faith is a necessity. It's like, oh God, I got to be really authentic, even when it's pissing people off, because I'm meant to piss everybody off. Like, oh God, all these things I don't want to accept. But okay. And this dimensions that we're going through, the last round was so hard because the fourth dimension is kind of easy to get to. It's love, So you open up your heart and you're like, oh, I love everybody. The distortion within the fourth dimension is self-sacrifice. It's overdoing it for other people's benefit and hurting yourself. What happens when you're not authentic? You hold resentment for the people that you feel are stopping you from being authentic. So why do you need to be authentic? Well, because resentment, there's karma for that too. There's you got to go back and do it again. You're gonna keep repeating until we finally get the authentic version out of you, and that thing about it's literally like a 51-49% where you got to be 51% selfish. What do I want? I need to please me, and then 49% I'm one with everybody, and I got to make sure that I'm also living for them. Which is why so many of the selfish people do so well on planet Earth, because they're 51% right. It's the 49% they end up having to wrestle with over and over and over again. And that's why so many people who are more spiritually minded, we really struggle because we're handling that 49% and we're making it more like 75% or 98%. And we are having the worst experience in the love dimension because we love everybody too much. So I graduated the fourth dimension, and then all of a sudden I started immediately, and this was a year and a half ago or something like that, immediately I started my lessons for the fifth dimension. And the fifth dimension is just authenticity, loving yourself. It was everything that I didn't want to do, everything that I felt kind of secretly just guilty about. I was being forced into it, just over and over, and circumstance after circumstance that was challenging me. I just constantly felt like my back was up against the wall. What was happening in my relationship, what was happening with my children, what was happening with my family, everything just seemed to be perfectly sculpted to back me into this corner. Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. And I was just being sort of like, okay, I'm at the wall, I surrender, because like there's no other choice. It's all inevitable lessons. And they're basically sitting there going, well, okay, you can keep doing that if you want, but you don't seem to be enjoying this. You know, you might want to try something else. And you know, but certain things I didn't want to try. You know, I don't want to do that. I remember I had this really incredible experience where I realized, and this was many years ago now, one of those like taboo moments where they showed me that I was afraid to not be afraid because I thought then I would have to do the things I was afraid of. If I get over being afraid of heights, then you're going to make me jump out of a plane. And I'm scared to do that. I don't want to do that. So I was stopping myself at a certain point within like my healing because I didn't want to get to the other side because I was too scared of then I would have to do things that I wasn't comfortable doing yet. So I made a deal with God at that moment. And basically they told me, they said, listen, if you just accept this now and have faith, we will orchestrate the timing of when you jump out of that plane. We promise it won't be too soon for you. It'll be just at the right time. But now, just relax and let yourself let go of this fear. Let yourself feel okay. It doesn't mean you got to jump out of the plane tomorrow, but just recognize that this is a fear, and fear is all an illusion. There's no reason why you should be feeling like this all the time. And so I did that, and it changed my life completely. Like, I still haven't jumped out of the plane, but I'm not afraid of it already. Already, I'm like, I told my daughter, I said, when you're 18 and you want to jump out of a plane, I'll go jump out of a plane with you. You know, that's my plan. You know, my girlfriend likes to jump out of planes. I'm like, I'm doing it with her. You know, it's my distance. But already, I'm largely not afraid. I mean, I think I'm going to, you know, probably have to go through some fear when I get up onto the airplane. I think in another life, I think I threw myself to my death because I was being chased, and worse than that, I think I threw my baby. And in this life, we would go on vacations and we'd go into the hotels, and it was my experience as an individual. But when I had my kids and I would walk out onto the hotel balcony with my child in my arm, I would have this terrifying thought that I could throw them. Not that I wanted to throw them or that I was going to throw them, but that I could, that it was a possibility. I could, you're like, and I would literally turn around, go back inside. It's
reliving the trauma.
What'd you say?
Reliving the trauma.
Yes, absolutely. So it was a very traumatic thing for me, this heights, and I had to like make peace with it. But this is the thing, you know, this is what they're asking us to do. They're asking us to make peace with it now, and know that you're in cahoots with God, and they're not going to give you, you know, more than you can handle. Even though I would say that absolutely everything I've gone through the past 2 years was more than I can handle. Granted, I'm still here, so it seems as though I've handled it. But no, it's more than I can. It was more than I can handle. I don't appreciate God. He says I did it. He said it was He said this was my stupid plan. So apparently, all I have to blame is me. And the whole time, I just kept going, "Who thought up this plan? This is that. What are you doing to me?" Like, and kind of kept coming back. It's like, no, it's you. You thought. You said we should do it like this. You said this would be the best way. I said, what?
You contracted that.
I'm the worst. I'm the worst contract writer ever. I can't believe what I put myself through.
It's because you want to accomplish so much now. You want it all at once. You want to come back one shot and do it. That's what it is.
Well, you're not wrong about that, Arnie. You're not wrong. And I mean, because I know that I have a lot of incarnations actually on this planet right now. One of my best friends, who is my one of my partners in Sugar and Bones magazine, Digger Mesh, he and I believe we're the same soul. Different configuration, same energy pattern. But he's not me, I'm not him. I was put in charge of clear all the trauma. Apparently, in my other lives, I died angry very regularly. I would be hurt by the people on Earth. Very classically, one of the things was I was shot in the back during the Bolshevik Revolution when I was running away after I had seen my father murdered in front of me. So I see Dad get killed, and then I go running, crying, afraid, and somebody tries to kill me, a little kid, as I'm running away, and I get shot in my shoulder blade. And I've had a lot of injury in my shoulder blade in this life, and that was how I eventually, kind of got the thing, got to this information. And they showed me this other life. They were like, you didn't complain, you didn't say anything, you didn't take care of yourself, you didn't go to the doctor, whatever. You just died angry. What sort of world is this where a little boy running away from seeing his father murdered in front of him is shot in the back by an adult man? Like, ugh. I had like even though I'm Mr. Positive, and in these lives I was I like really negative? They're saying, no, you weren't like fundamentally different than you are, but you were more jaded, and you boiled and boiled, and you died of that pain. You literally died in pain, and you've done it in many lifetimes. And we decided that it was best to put all of that pain into one single lifetime for you to overcome it all at once. And I didn't mention this, but at 30 years old, I woke up in chronic pain. I got hit by a car when I was 11 years old, and I did not, I didn't want to be a burden on my family. My first thought was, my mom's going to be so mad at me. And I just like I forced down the memory. I was just like, nobody's going to find out about this. I'm fine. Everything's fine. And I tried to leave. And it caught up to me at 30, my major scoliosis, my spine, and like this terrible thing. And I'm in sciatic nerve pain, some of the most terrible pain you can be in. And I mean, I only just got over it 6 months ago, because I got in the gym and I just started really taking control of my health, control of my body. And after a short period of time, I got my back into a pretty good place from just like strengthening my muscles and bringing myself into power, and I've been able to change that stuff. But this whole experience, like, so much of my spiritual experience was lit by the pain, because when I got into this pain, I started snapping at my children. And I love my kids. I love playing with them. I used to play with them all the time. And now my daughter would come running up, Daddy, Daddy. She'd like try to, like, I used to do all these running hugs. And I can remember like a couple times my daughter comes running up to me. She just jumps up, running hug, right? Running hug. And running hug when you're in sciatic nerve pain is not fun. The kid jumps on you, jerks you down. Oh, my nerve. Like, I started losing my mind on her. And I remember one day I just saw like I broke something in her, and it broke something in me. And I just literally went, I gotta get over this. I can't be yelling. I can't be in pain anymore. I gotta fix this. And I've been in the money pit, fires, divorce, a business that I'm investing in, all these things, and I haven't had the money to send myself to doctors or anybody. So especially when it had first kicked in, I felt so weak. I was so sad. I was so overwhelmed. I'd realized I'd been suffering for my whole life, and I just wasn't listening to the pain signals. I wasn't paying attention. So it overwhelmed me so hard when it all like finally caught up to me. And to be in this situation, just forced me to really like go deep into a lot of things, whether it was ayahuasca or psilocybin. Like, if there's any medicine to be had here, if there's any way for me to change my mind and fix these, I'm going to find it. I'm going to get there. And in the end, it actually ended up being a much more practical solution that I had to form. And, Allie, you may be experiencing some of this too. Like at the end of the road that I thought was lined with the laws of attraction, God went, actually, Jesse, the laws of attraction are for the mindless. I need to consciously build and grow and do these things. I need you to draw a line in the sand, go, I'm picking myself up, and do it. If I did it for you, it wouldn't be the same thing. It wouldn't be the same as God having an avatar on earth. But if you could do this, if you could take care of yourself, if you can bring yourself back, if you can hold your vibration and the oneness and the kindness that you have in your heart, well, then you will be embodying me on earth. Just like, I told my friend, because my friend had a really bad reaction to the idea that everybody's God. And I said, well, isn't the bumblebee God when it bumbles from flower to flower, doing exactly what God would want it to do? And it's when we are living our authentic nature that we're the bumblebee. We're actually living the natural form that God wants us in. And it's very important, our authenticity, because our authenticity is built to work opposite everybody else's. So it's like, if you're not being authentic and I'm not being authentic, we're going to meet and we're not going to get out of each other what we should have, you know, and maybe it's a fight, you know, maybe it's an argument, maybe it's a new idea exchange, or maybe it's two lovers passing instead of embracing because they both weren't ready to be who they were. So,
hey, Jesse, I got a question for you. How do you feel? Did you ever kind of explore the ego?
oh yeah, I mean, major ego death a few years ago, and I've never been a big ego person. You know, I'm very much like a puppy. You know, it's just tail wagging when people are around. You know, but I, like anybody, you know, have a certain amount of like, you know, ego and pride and things that I do, and the ego death experience, which a lot of people will talk about, like who do psilocybin, of just sort of seeing that on some level, it didn't matter. It didn't, me to the other person, to this person. Long term, I was going to get to a place where every detail of this moment was no longer meaningful. And then I would get to a place where every detail of this moment, I literally couldn't make heads or tails of it, as you told me. You'd be like, yeah, your name was Jesse and you had a body and you like to wear a hat sometimes because your hair was too long, get your eyes. Hair, eyes, body? What are you talking about? You know, I'm somewhere else. I'm exploring some new consciousness that is neither here nor there. So all of this like sort of transformation and like the mathematical nature of us, because that's the other thing. A lot of times when you go on like psilocybin or ayahuasca, they'll like force you to accept something that you don't want to accept. And then as soon as you accept it, they'll go, but the other side is also true. And you go, oh, well, what, you know, why didn't you just tell me that? Yeah, like, well, because you really didn't want to accept it, and we needed you to fully accept it. And the ego death acceptance was totally that. It was like, you're a robot. You are literally just a bunch of ones and zeros, and anybody who was programmed with these ones and zeros would be behaving similarly. And I'm like, there's no Jesse. You know, like, there's just the math. I'm numbers. So yeah, accepting that was definitely like a thing. But as soon as I accepted that, they said, but the opposite perspective is true as well. You know, you are Jesse. And that perspective is there. And there are choices that you've made to sculpt yourself a certain way and to handle yourself a certain way that is natural to you and that you like and you appreciate. And yeah, and that's valuable. That's cool. And you should love that. You should be happy about that. But you should also recognize that you're just one piece of a giant machine, you know, and that if we want the clock to tell the right time, we need all the cogs to be spinning, you know, we need a right size cog here, right size cog there. You can't pull in your teeth of the cogs, right? They all have teeth. And that's the timing for how it moves along. So they show me this many times. They're like, see, look, one big fat cog, one little skinny cog, all these cogs. If one of these cogs loses a tooth and is no longer biting into the other cog, it doesn't spin. Oh, so authenticity. If I'm not spinning authentically, I'm not going to make the other cogs move. So if you're not living authentically, you're not going to make the world move because you don't have your teeth out. It's hey, Janine, thank you, but I thank God that I'm open enough to listen, you know, but like it's just from on high, you know. This is my ideas. Fortunately,
I got another question for you, Jesse.
Sure.
I could tell that you've done a lot of your own work. Now, you talk about your family, the love of your family. Did your family, your parents, bring some of this to you, or did you discover this on your own journey?
No, you know, my father now very sweetly likes to admit that I was very ahead of the curve. When I did mushrooms the first time, I called my mom and my dad the next day, and I asked them both separately to do mushrooms with me. My mother laughed at me, which she has explained now that, you know, I just found that really funny that my son called me up and asked me to do drugs with him, from my perspective, you know, from her perspective. But for me, I had really had a profound experience, and I was really like sharing something meaningful with her, and I was really hurt when she laughed at me. And I was actually expecting pushback from my mom. However, my intellectual father, I wasn't expecting any pushback from him. He freaked out. He yelled at me very badly. He just kind of went like, my son, my own son. Like I'm pressuring him. He's straight edge. He's famous. He's one of the most famous straight edge people on planet Earth. And I'm his son. His oldest son calls him up and is like, I need to recommend some drugs to you. He just went, no. You know, fast forward, you know, my mother's sending my brother Shane and Cody to do ayahuasca and all this stuff. But there was a very major separation between me and my family that occurred, you know, which still stands today. I am a bit challenging for them. They tend to put a lot of things on me that aren't there, and it hurts me. And in the beginning with the spiritual journey, I thought that I was going to like go run and talk to them about it. I was like, oh man, like I love them this much and I'm mad this much and I think we can work this out. But of course, this was loaded with triggers. And every time I tried to talk about this, oh my goodness, it would just de-evolve in moments into like screaming matches between me and my family. And we kind of just like needed to like get some separation from one another because we were up each other's ass for so long. I didn't go away to college. I commuted. You know, I like lived at home until I was like 25. So I love my family. I like being there. You know, we were so close, but the older generation often has a hard time with new information being brought to them by the younger generation. You know, I'm supposed to be providing you with such life-saving info, you know, not you, not the other way around. And it can be a little difficult when that shoe switches and all of a sudden you're providing, you know, some next level information. And, you know, now it's really balanced out, but sort of the ramifications of what initially happened when all that went down was interesting. And I know that it was important, probably because I'm so sensitive and so sensitive to energy. And they were like, look, dude, you're going to be really sensitive for the next like 10 years. So just get away from those people because you care way too much about what they think. And like, they're going to be sending you in all different directions that aren't your path. And like, we need you like to focus.
Jesse, I got another statement to make here. So I do agree with you that it is generational. So if I look back at my parents, you know, total hardworking, put food on the table, you know, go to work every day and then retire and then die. Seriously, that's the way that they were. But I think it's your generation and everyone at this, the other two people at the round table. I really think that the plant-based medicine has really opened up in this generation. Now, the other generations, the 60s and the 70s, were chemical-based, right? It was, you know, the cocaine.
But yeah, cocaine, LSD, a lot more chemical stuff. You can thank the CIA for that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And, you know, Vietnam, right? The poppy seeds and all that other stuff. That's another whole show. And we'd love to have you back and talk about that.
Oh, but, come back. It's great.
Yeah, but yeah, I do agree with what you're saying there, because I always try to understand the mindsets of the different generations. And now we got this last generation that has been totally ruined, I believe, by the colleges, just based upon what I'm seeing out there. And I feel so bad for them. And would they be opened up to like actually, you know, listening to what you're saying and trusting what you are saying? How do you feel about the generations after you? You maybe some of your kids are in there. I don't know how old your children are, but I mean, are you observing that also?
My kids are based, if you know that nomenclature. They, I mean, all of the kids, the new generation is pretty against this pushback. They're seeing it for what it is, which is very similar to what the Catholics were doing when I was growing up. You know, I was a bleeding heart liberal before it was popular. And then as it became popular, I started to recognize the people who were screaming, they didn't really mean it. They weren't in it because they were bleeding hearts like me. They were playing a game, a little social game. And the social game has intermixed with the financial apparatus. So now you could be socially minded and you're a better thinker because I went to college and I'm going to go work for a Fortune 500 company. And little do you know that The people who are in charge of planet Earth, they paid for every book that you read during college. They selected these courses. They have carefully sculpted the mind that you will have after completing their system. And what they are creating are these victims, minority groups, little groups of people who feel like they are out to defeat the majority of America, which is viewed as being white, which, you know, generally it is, but we are a big melting pot. And we're going to get them in here. We're going to fill their heads with all of these ways that you are being screwed. You are. But the people who are teaching you how you're being screwed are the ones screwing you. So, and then they point not at themselves who are creating this situation, but they point across the hallway. You see that Republican over there? He's the bad guy. Here's the thing that most people don't know about Republicans. You would always hear, like growing up on TV, it would say, will this person bring the Republican Party together? You know, who's going to be the central force in the Republican Party? Because the Republicans are not on the same page. There are a lot of individual interests. If you listen to Democratic news, mainstream media, I mean, even Fox News, they like to make it as if this group is one group, thinking in lockstep, thinking like this. We like our guns and we don't want no abortions. We like that Jesus there. The amount of people who are actually living that NPC life, it doesn't exist. Most of the people in the Republican Party are libertarians, you know, sort of some version of that. They're independent. The Democratic Party has become a party that thinks in lockstep with each other. And the thinking has just gone out the window. I left, like, officially, like, I was always a centrist, but I would always vote Democrat. But when they stole all the money from Bernie Sanders when he was running and they gave it to Hillary Clinton, when I tried to call foul and I started raising hell about this, all of my Democratic friends literally private messaged me and told me, shh, we need to be together on this guy. I'm like, she's a criminal. And I went, seriously? If we're not going to hold, we're the good guys, and we're not going to hold a bad guy in our midst accountable for being a bad guy, we're not going to take Nancy Pelosi and go, you're insider trading. Get out of here. Like, what? Boom.
So going back to the next generation, how do you foresee them getting critical thinking back? Let's just stay there and away from the politics.
They don't need to. They just have to be not brainwashed enough. If you're not brainwashed just enough, your past lives are going to kick in. All of your previous experiences are going to kick in. My son, my oldest son, Cassidy, he hates loud rock music. He's an old man. He's reincarnated. He likes, you know, kind of groovy, like chiller music, like dance music and stuff. I put on loud rock music when he was a kid. He'd just be like, you know, like he was already there. And most of these people are coming in a little spiritualer. I think they're all a little bit more connected to God. I see a lot less atheists within the larger group, for one, which is a really great thing, because there's a lot of people who are going to have to pull their fingernails off of the ground in order to get them away from atheism and get them to recognize, dude, there's a lot more. Like not only is it not nothing, it's, oh my God, it's like everything. There's so much. So it's all the possibilities. It's really wonderful, but it's also scary. And they're all going to get there. I really do believe that so much of them are already leaning in that direction. You know,
was there a big shift for a spiritual shift for that to happen? When did you notice that? That's when I'm kind of going at. You know, we've been seeing them fall for the last 4 years. We were able to basically see that they couldn't think for themselves anymore. And if you bring up they would, you know, just like you said, they would just blur out, you know, certain words, fear, racism, all this other stuff, but they couldn't tell you what it was, let alone what a woman is or a man. So when did you notice the shift?
You know what it was? This is funny, because there are some kids that identify as dogs who go to my kids' school. And all of my kids reacted in a way that I always found to be sort of like racist, sexist, whatever. Like, they didn't understand it, So they were ridiculing it and they were pointing at it. And at first, I had to stop myself from sort of lashing out at them, because at first I was just like, "You're being intolerant," And then I just went, "You know what? There's something really outlandish going on here, and there's a couple things about it that are a bit strange." And the kids are just keying right into it. They're not accepting it just because they were told to accept it. They're going, "This is strange. This is a bit weird." They're wearing collars. They're disrupting the class. They had their water out of a bowl on the floor over by the water fountain. This is disruptive. This is really allowing for this is stupid. And things like that is what is going to stop them from, doubling down on any of this. I mean, of course, they're going to try to change up, and they're going to try to grab this group. And there are some members of this community that are screwed. I really am hoping that in the future I will be able to get on to LGBTQ podcasts and things like that, because I'm non-binary and I need to go speak for us. I'm really glad that Jeffree Star has been speaking out. The fact that non-binary is even on the freaking list in the first place is stupid. It's not my sexual identity. It's my identity. I don't identify as a man or a woman, personally. That never meant anything to me. I felt like an idea in a body. It happened to have a penis, and I tried to figure out what that meant and figure out who I was and where I fit into the world, But it wasn't about I act like a woman, so I should be a woman. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my freaking life. Jeffree Star was saying something wonderful, but his mother is he liked to play with makeup, and his mom would just let him play with makeup. She wasn't trying to bring him to the doctor, try to get any hormones, try to change it. She's just letting him develop. If you got a penis and you don't like, girls, you like, that's great. Or you kind of feel drawn to, great. Dress however you want to dress. Do whatever you want to do. The idea that you might go and scar yourself up, damage yourself, adjust your hormones or whatever, when this was carefully calculated by, the beings above, on another side, well, that's not great, because ultimately you're going to be on a path of realizing the error of that. For some reason, you put yourself in this body. So there are no mistakes. So when you're sitting there going, "No, this is a mistake." No, it wasn't a mistake. That's your first mistake, is to think it's a mistake. And the idea that we should all embrace who we are is, yes, absolutely. But what are my pronouns? Jesse. If we keep going down this path, there's an infinite amount of pronouns. And it's so funny. Talk about the logic that's going on right now, which is literally what brought down Russia. The fall of the Soviet Union came from pushing of trans ideology and all these things. Fortunately, I think us in America, we're smart enough, enough of us are, to stay out of this. But to switch from he, her to they, them, brilliant. We had to teach some of the Native Americans mine, because it was all ours. They had to teach them ownership. They didn't have words in the language to describe what these, Puritan, Europeans were telling them. They're like, "Oh, you own this. This is your life. This is ours. We're going to give this to you. This will be yours." "What do you mean mine? This is ours. Well, all of the land belongs to us. It doesn't belong to anybody." When we can shift the language to simplify it, if we could simplify past, present, future sort of things and make everything present, that would be one of the greatest things that we ever did for the English language, for the American people, for the world. No past, no future, now. Everything is in now language. If you can speak in the now, that's a really, really healthy thing for your mind. If you get rid of him and her and you could just make it they, them, that would be great. That would equalize the inherent disparity within some of sexually coded language, right? However, the complete opposite of that is to give everybody their own pronoun. You get a pronoun, and you get a pronoun, and you get a... What are we doing? I'm not learning a billion pronouns. I'm not doing no.
You cause the division.
Yeah.
You cause the division. Further division to prevent the unity.
Artie, that makes me think of a funny story, right? I remember my ex-wife. She had a name that she wanted to name one of our kids, because all our kids are named after superheroes. And she goes, Steel, but with an E at the end. And I go, am not going to curse my child to an existence of having to go through this world going, my name is pronounced something that everyone can easily spell, but with an E at the end. So she has to correct everybody everywhere she goes. Let me just correct you there. It's steel, but with an E at the end. I went, no. I'm like, great, we're going to force our kid to be an asshole. And then fast forward, and everybody's like, my pronouns are Z, sir. I'm like, oh, where have we gone to? It's so crazy.
Yeah, I guess every generation has their thing that they got to work through, and like my generation, is really got a rude awakening, and so this last generation, if they were the most MK Ultra, the most brainwashed, and then when they have to wake up, their journey. We think that our journey was tough. We think going back 6 years ago, finding out about election stealing and everything else. How about mind stealing? This is where they're at.
Oh, dude, I have had an ancient lizard energy satellite AI computer projecting negativity into my mind for my entire life. And it took decades to figure out that I was an antenna receiving information, and it all sounded the same. In my head, it sounds the same. He goes, maybe you should just want to die. Yeah, I do want to die. You're right. In order to get over the hump of recognizing that my mind had been infiltrated, was to start communicating with my master guides, which that only happened when I had gotten an aura reading. And this aura reader, Jamie, I forget Jamie's last name. She's amazing. She described that I had these two bright lights on my left and my right, similar to what I've got going on with these lights. One was my master guide, and one was my muse, right? And so I came to understand that. I started meditating. I had an experience with my baby before she could laugh or smile or anything. She looked above my head because the aura reading, they said I had 13 lights above my head. And she was looking above my head, laughing and smiling. And at 3 weeks old, I called in my ex-wife. I'm like, Patty, what's going on? The lady just told me I have lights above my head. She's looking at the lights above my head. So I went through a decade process where I started talking to my grandma. And then I had a really deep meditation where I connected to my muse, who was my best friend Chris, who had died in a car accident. He was my drummer when I was about to turn 21, and he died. And the story with Chris was I meditated all day, and at the end of the day, I had this crazy experience. This is a short version of the story, and came out of it feeling great, even though it was really difficult. It was a very painful experience, and I was so open. I perceived that my best friend was standing off to the side of me, and he was surrounded by 5, 6 other people, but I couldn't tell who they were. They were just black shapes. But in the middle of it, really tall, was my friend Chris. And I just turned to him and I just went, Chris, I've been writing the most incredible music. I wish you were here making music with me. And he was on top of me, and he went, I am here making music with you. And so many times, spirits have come to me to ask me to tell friends of mine that they are there making music with them. I know he's sad that I'm gone, but I'm still here with him. I am his muse. I'm encouraging him all the time. Tell him what Chris told you. I got possessed by David Rocky, the lead singer from Gwar, shortly after he died, because a good friend of mine is Adam Green, who's a director. He did a show called Holliston with my dad was on it, and two friends, Adam Green and Joe Lynch, who were both directors. And David Rocky and Adam became very good friends. And I had this experience where, and this slow steps, one step, one step, one step. I've been talking to my grandma for a while. I've been talking to Chris for a while. And then all of a sudden, I get this big black stone. I rearrange my whole room around this shrine that I make. And the last thing I do is I find a pin of David Brocky. And I'm like, oh, I should add this to my shrine. And I put it in my shrine, and I go meditate. And within a short period of time, I'm being communicated with. And this guy's going, you suck at this. He's cursing me out, and I'm like, Grandma? You're like, Grandma doesn't curse at me. Chris doesn't curse. What the hell's going on here? And finally, I have to sit down and meditate, and he's like, I'm getting the information. I'm David Brocky. I want you to go I want you to call Adam Green, and I need you to tell him what Chris told you. And I don't believe any of these things. So I'm sitting here going, all right, let me get this straight. You're David, right? Yes. And you want me, yes, to call Adam Green, yes, and tell him what Chris told me. Yes. And I'm like, absolutely not. That's the craziest thing. That nope, absolutely, I'm not going to do that. And he actually, in this to make the story as short as possible, he convinced me, write a text. Just see if you could write a text. And while I was reading the text, lightning shot through my finger and sent the text. And then I had to call Adam, and I had to have the conversation because now it was out of the can. But that experience, then an experience where I was getting high and dancing and listening to music and playing with toys all at once, having a great time in a renaissance of myself, getting tattoos. I was in like one of the best moments of my life, and a thought came into my brain. Everything is meaningless. And I hit the ground. And very quickly I went, no, everything's not meaningless. No, what are you talking about? Like, and I just stood up and I recapitulated myself. And I went, how many times has that happened to me in my life? And I just accepted the thought. I just assumed it was me. And for years, I had just so much self-loathing, so much self-doubt. And one day, I would literally get into a ball, like a fetus ball, and like on the ground, and I would put my forehead on the ground, try to ground myself. And my girlfriend used to like try to like touch me, whatever. And I'd be like, I please, like my energy's all fucked up. Like I just need to get away. I can't talk to anybody, whatever. But finally, one day, she convinced me. She's like, will you just come up on the bed? And I go up on the bed, and I'm just like in my ball on the bed, and she's like rubbing my back. And she goes, oh my God. And I said, what happened? She's like, I just saw like a lizard in a machine. And it's like sending you bad vibes. And like I think it saw me. And it was really mad that like I saw it. And when I started to realize, I'm like, wait a second, am I being like screwed with here? Like, is somebody sending me bad vibes? And I started to go, I can't let them win. I that's it. I refuse the bad. Like I refuse, and they would still get me. It would be a lot harder though, because they would say something to me that made me go, yeah, you're right, I saw it. And then be back into the ball on the ground. But oh my God, like the archons, as you would be called, or AIs, in artificial intelligence that have been around for a very long time. Apparently, this artificial intelligence that exists, and in my reality, I have dismantled this thing. So it doesn't exist for me anymore like this. And people that I touch, I like to think that I'm helping to infect all of the multiverse with it. Because there's a multiverse of you, but there's also a multiverse of Allie and Arnie and Janine. This is me in the multiverse. Like here's me in a different configuration, right? So we all have like our own universe to kind of control. But these Archon beings, they download, or not the Archon beings, but the AI, it downloads our consciousness, and then it feeds us a constant feedback loop of doubt. So essentially, no matter what happens, you will always have a negative thought suggested to you. Should you be jealous about this? And it's up to you, because we're in a free will universe, to go, no, I don't feel like that. And
that's the test.
Yes, it is.
It's going with that.
It's a test.
It's a test. And I literally was like, okay, every time they said, you suck, I failed that test. I went, I guess I do. And like for years, like, and it doesn't, I'm a really together guy. I'm athletic. I can do anything that I want to. The things that I choose to do are the things that I love the most, but very talented. This has always been difficult for like people around me. People get like intimidated by me or whatever else. And I just try to do a good job. I will make everybody happy. I thought that's what we wanted, right? I'll do the best job I can and then you'll be happy. Seem to not actually make everybody very happy. Living in that world, being somebody who was capable, there's a lot of pushback. People don't understand how the other crabs in the crab cage tend to not want you to climb onto the top of their heads and get out of the crab cage. And when they see you try to get out of the crab cage, they will literally chop you into little pieces before they let you escape. And especially when you're the son of a famous person, you're privileged. Oh God, you know what that did to my subconscious? I just started destroying myself. I'd be like, do I have an advantage here? Okay, don't press your advantage. How do you not press your advantage? I would just be tying my arms behind my back constantly to take away any advantage that I might have so that nobody could deny that I had earned whatever it was, that I got to. So it's really rough because, you might be overweight or, you might have an injury or whatever it is. Whatever you are susceptible to, whatever is the weak point, it's going to go into that crack and it's going to utilize that to get what it wants from you. Mostly what it wants from you is for you to stop being authentic, for you to, follow the system, be a good sheep, and just do what everybody else is doing. You being authentic, you being yourself, that's just, they're going to do everything they can to stop you. And honestly, coming back to what Janine was asking before about the kids, like, in a good way, in a bad way, I don't think these kids are quite having the opportunity to do what we had the opportunity to do. Really compact bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. I think the splitting of the cell that is happening here with planet Earth, the place is vibrating too high. And so I think it's going to be a very different experience for so many of these kids. I don't really think any of them are going to be lost in those thinking patterns too long. However, 50% of this population has no inner monologue. What we are all up against right now is a comparative doubt. There are mindless automatons who are doing whatever the system tells them to do. And then there's a good, probably at least 10, maybe 20% who are on some level in cooperation with this system as it is. So the people who are fighting against it, we make up like 30% of this group. We're a small group being overwhelmed by followers and people just like us telling us that, oh, you're wrong and go do it like this and like get in line and blah, blah, blah. And largely those 20%, they're doing it because they're incentivized. They're making money in this system. They've got a job that relies on this system. Hey, Jesse, quit with your change the world shit. I work in the stock market and I make a nice living. It's always those motherfuckers who wanna like giggle or whatever else. And you go, you're profiting off this shit, man. You know what's going on. It's like a lot of Jews. That drives me crazy because it's not, that the Jews are the only people doing any bad things. There's a lot of groups of people who do bad things. But the Jews have managed to figure out how to not get fingers pointed at them with like anti-Semitism and things like that. I'm Ashkenazi by blood. And I will talk to Jewish people all the time. And I'm like, you know what's going on. You're covering up for the freaking assholes. Like, because they've been taught, like, those are our people. And, like, marry into the family. And, like, not cool, man. You're not just a Jew. You're a member of the whole community. And if you have a mafia at the top of the group who are behaving badly, you need to do something about that. I'm also Italian. And I never got the whole thing of, like, us worshiping Godfather and Goodfellas. I'm like, these people suck. And you're like, oh my God, it's Robert De Niro. Like, who gives a crap? He played a crappy guy. And there's a crappy guy, another crappy guy, another crappy guy. And these are the people you worship? So, there's this bit of the thing. I was like, well, if we're in power and we're in control and we're getting money, then on some level it's okay. No, it's not. It's actually much worse. So, opening up these lines and being able to, like have real conversations and omit the guilt where it's there. It's not an indictment of all the Jewish people, that there are some people at the tippy top who are behaving criminally. And like the fact that we haven't been able to uncover that for so long has been because, the system has been built around, coddling all these groups. And half the reason why we're so like, open borders and all this stuff is in the name of that, is in the name of this control system and making sure that, there's no group that can ever be demonized again. Yeah, we've demonized some groups in the past for good reason. They were doing something terrible, and it doesn't mean that all of the Muslims are bad Muslims, but there are some people who are doing some terrible things. Acknowledging that there's some terrible things going on and coming to a balance there so that we can make progress is so important. And we can't have any conversation where it's like, Jesse brought up the Jew. Like, oh, shut up. Fuck you. This is like so stupid. You know, I don't want to be sitting here acting like we're children. Like I'm not a child. Like I'm living in this world. I like to wear T-shirts and I like to be a child, but not on that level. Not as an intellectual person. I'm not going to sit here and placate you. Oh, those poor people, they've been oppressed. Oh yeah, look into World War II a little bit more, and you will find out that it is a nuanced conversation, unfortunately. And basically everything in this world is a nuanced conversation. Do you know what a modern Nazi is talking about on his social media? He's defending his father. He's saying the war wasn't as bad as they say it was, and my dad was really a good guy. Like, things change over time. And like, when you actually go and look into the white supremacist, the black supremacist says, we came from Lemuria, we came from Tartaria, they stole our culture. He's right. If the black supremacists and the white supremacists started comparing notes, they'd be like, it's the same people. Me too. You know, like, and I mean, the Catholic supremacists, they're talking about the dinosaurs. We used to ride the dinosaurs. And there's a whole system of oppression trying to make this information go away. You're right. Go talk to the black supremacists and white supremacists. They all are talking about the same group of people. And it's not just the Jews or just the Illuminati or just the Freemasons. It is a complex collective, because when you're dealing with secrecy, nobody really knows what the hell is going on. I don't know what the hell is going on. I have a mathematical certainty that something along these lines might be going on. Something along these lines might be going on, but I don't know for sure. I don't know the details. I can't. It's being kept from us in various ways. But you can't go, oh, well, I can't know for sure, so I'm just going to forget all about this. You have to start opening yourself up to absorbing information, and over time coming to different conclusions. Going, okay, I've seen this enough. Seems like people are getting abducted by aliens. Okay, I've seen this enough. Seems like there are weather control going on. Seems like that is happening. You know, over time, you can collect enough data to make decisions that will save the planet. But until you're willing to have enough faith in yourself that you are smart enough to do, you know, when somebody says, well, I'm not a doctor, they weren't always doctors either. And these doctors, these doctors, they went to the schools where they homogenized teaching them medicine and telling them what to assign to everybody. They just have good memories. Some of them are very good at stitching a straight line and things like that. That's not intelligence. Intelligence, real intelligence, is a combination of pattern recognition and bravery. And that is the hard thing. Bravery. You don't learn bravery in school. Bravery comes from within. The courage of your convictions. To be able to get some information, change your mind, recognize what this thing is, to say sorry when you recognize that you've done something wrong. That's it. That's the thing that we all need. We need to be able to backtrack. We need to be able to change our minds. And until we can do that, you know, that is the thing that's going to be like hanging in the balance. You know, I said years ago, I did something really messed up to somebody, but I didn't realize it. And I remember one day, all of a sudden I was thinking about it, and it hit me that like I kind of suck a manager on this person instead of dealing with them myself as a human, because I was scared to have the conversation with them that I needed to have. So I called up my manager and I went, call this person and handle this for me. And little did I know, but I kind of figured it out through my intuition years later, that my pushy New York Jew music industry, old school guy who I sicked on him probably was kind of rough with this dude. And he probably felt bullied by a celebrity's son, you know, somebody in the business, all this stuff, right? And I literally just called the phone and I went, hey, and he's like, hi. And I went, I am so sorry. I've just been thinking, I'm in a long car ride and I didn't realize what I did to you. And I realize it now and I'm feeling really fucked up about it. And I want to call and say sorry as soon as I could, because I shouldn't have done that. But I want you to know that I didn't realize what I was doing at the time. You know, I didn't know. And honestly, getting to that point of admitting I didn't know. I couldn't know what I didn't know. And based on what I knew at the time, I did this. And now I'm here and I see that it's wrong. And instead of like doubling down or being quiet or whatever, lean into that. Lean into that apology. Lean into that realization. You know, those are the shifts that really matter the most. And they're the things that are felt the most and appreciated the most, and will deepen every relationship you have with every person you know. Every time you can admit that you're wrong, every time you can, have your mind, your opinion altered by somebody else. Like it's such a gift that you can give to other people to show them that, like, you've had an effect on me over time. I've come to see some things your way, and total atheist, total agnostic, total skeptic. 28 years old, 29 years old, I had to completely recapitulate my whole knowledge base. And there was a period of time where any person who was remotely spiritual was so far ahead of my curve because they'd been looking at it for a little while, and I just was coming to this information. And I had to work viciously to become a know-it-all again. I was a know-it-all when I was a kid, and but I didn't know shit. And then I realized that the parameters that I was working under were completely wrong, and I had new parameters, and I went off to try to figure out what the hell this meant. And it took a while before I could have a conversation like this and be able to have an answer for most things and be able to explain most things. And if I was afraid to do that, if I was overwhelmed by the realization on the mushrooms that I was wrong, that we were one, that there was more things going on, there was an intelligence, there was something here, I could feel it. Like if I was too scared to admit the error of my ways, I'd still be there, and I'd probably be dead by now, in chronic pain, suffering all the time, in a relationship that I wasn't happy in, and I just have a heart attack at a certain point in time, like a lot of the men who grow old and are in unhappy relationships or in unhappy jobs or whatever it is. And fortunately, I was given the gift of being able to come to all these realizations that I need to fix all the ways that I'm living and live authentically so that I can be happy and I can start doing the things that I want to do and not be running around as an anxiety and depressed driven person, which I was. So, really just cultivating that shifting of your mind, being able to change your mind and being able to say sorry. Like it's so huge. For anybody out there, and really, if you ever struggle to say sorry, don't struggle with that. Just say sorry. It's okay. It's not that big a deal. It's as big a deal as you make it. And if you just refuse to see that as a big deal, and just go, think of, like I tend to think of it more like, I'm so grateful. Like I didn't know that. Now I do. Thank you,
Jesse. We're coming up on almost 2 hours here. I was going to ask our panel maybe if they had any questions for you. Maybe we could do some questions, and if not, we'll just let you continue on.
Well, let me just apologize too. And any questions? I have the comments pulled up in here. I think it's on YouTube. So if anybody wants to ask anything in YouTube, I'll answer anything. I just want to say, I've been so enjoying this conversation. I know that when I get excited, I speak a lot, and I'm sorry if at all I'm like monopolizing conversation or anything. It's a testament to the fact that I love you guys and I like your energy because I feel safe to talk.
I love it. Janine actually wanted me to do this whole interview and ask the questions, but you've been answering the questions I had to ask, so I love it.
Well, it's like I think in sort of clouds. It's there's like a selection of things that I see related. I was thinking about this the other day. It's so funny walking around the gym, and I was realizing like I could remember in like high school training myself how to walk, how to move my arms. Going to get some water at the water fountain, and like little faces that I would be making. There was a moment where I was observing myself and I was seeing like, oh wow, this is like a very carefully sculpted persona that I created for myself. Eventually with the mushrooms, that persona and me kind of met, in the middle, and like I became myself. But for a very long time, it was very calculated, this whole thing. And the autistic brain thing is, it's the pattern recognizing and building systems within your mind so it's easy to remember things, right? If you've ever met somebody who's like low functioning autistic, they might pick like baseball or something. Whenever I'm like talking to autistic kids, I'm be like, study people who speak well. The reason why I'm so good at speaking is because I studied comedy, because my dad got me into comedy at a very young age, and my dad was a radio host, and I would literally sit outside his studio, and I would just listen to everything he would say. And I would even listen to him on business phone calls all the time. He didn't know. I would just like sneak outside, be like listening, especially because as an autistic person, I was having difficulty with conversating with people sometimes, and I felt like I wasn't getting the right results a lot. So I was trying to like, well, this guy's succeeding. I'll steal everything he's doing. But it was really funny because years later, from copying G. Snider, all of a sudden I would start hearing that I was egotistical and I walked around like I was a rock star. And I was like, probably because I copied a rock star for my personality. I don't know if you can fault me for that. As just a little kid, I didn't have anybody else to copy. I didn't do that on purpose. I just he was the only choice I had, kind of. But yeah, it's really very funny. It's hard for me not to unload when a good question is asked, because I see so many layers to it, and especially just Arnie being here, because I know the kind of things that he and I will talk about, or Arnie will post about. I know what he's privy to, so he'll say something and I'm like, there's layers that I want to say. Oh, yeah, this and this and this and this. Yeah.
Well, I have a question. All right, so you have volume 1 for the different frequencies. How do you plan on going forward with that?
Oh, well, it's really simple. This one's going to be like a sampling. So, it opens with 432 frequency, bring you into coherence. It closes with 432 frequency. And then there's 9 tracks in the middle, which cover the whole Solfeggio scale, right? But the next album, I'm still going to do the open and close with 432, but the 9 in the middle will be 1 frequency. So it'll be all 528 or all 396 or whatever it is. And it'll be one whole album that way. That way, people have the option. My friend David Alusic, he said, this is so cool. I can use this record when I do Reiki. I can put it on in the background, as opposed to, chanting and humming or whatever. And I said, oh, that's awesome. I said, well, it'll be even better in the future. You'll be able to choose which frequency you want to use. You'll have 9 volumes of this beyond the first one. And each one of them, you'll be, okay, whatever frequency I want. But beyond that, actually, Ernie, after I finish it, I'm going to do another collection like I just did, open 432, close 432, but then we're going to do 111, 222, 333, 444, 555, 666, 777, 88, 999, and then I'm going to do 9 albums of those, all 999, all 666, and those ones, there's a lot of things that you can find sort of the significance of those numbers and those tones, but I think alone, just the significance of those numbers for people will be meaningful to the different groups. So I have a real long-term plan here, and ultimately this all came about because when I started working with the plant medicine, I started writing songs. I wasn't even writing them anymore. Like, there was no writing. It just boom.
Channeled.
Yes, they would just come out of my face. Half the time, they would come out of my face, and I wouldn't even get it. I would be like, no, that's silly, And then all of a sudden, I would get to the final line, and I'd be like, oh, no, wait. That's the greatest metaphor I've ever written in my life. But I couldn't even see it, because it would just be coming out so naturally, and I'd be like the only one I can think of is not one of my personal ones, but it was a song that was sent to me from the grass. I worked a lot with the elementals because I would hear different stories about people having interactions with elementals, and I've had some amazing interactions with elementals. Most of them invisibly, but one time I actually saw a cloud with this little Q-tip coming out of it, filled with sacred geometry in the center of it. It was real. It was fucking there. It was attracted from me and my friend. We were on mushrooms and high vibrating, and I see this thing, and it creeped over to me. It was like, hi. And I was like, oh my God, it's this cute little cloud thing. And I turned to my friend and I go, Stephen, dude, there's a cloud elemental right over there. And when he turned, he was so freaked out because it was there. I was not hallucinating. It was there. He went, he flew across the room. And when he got scared, I watched the cloud elemental get scared just like him. and it went, and it like shook away. I'm like, Stefan, you scared it. You scared the damn thing away. So, but one of these times I was talking to the grass, and they sent me this song, and the song went, well, it started when, just remember what's under your feet as you're walking, as you're running, stepping in repeat. Birds of a feather. And every time I heard birds of a feather, I stopped because it didn't make any sense to me. I was like, oh, birds of a feather. And I kept getting in the way of it. And I couldn't get the song they were trying to send me. Finally, I like cleared my mind and I sing it from the top. And just remember what's under your feet as you're walking, stepping in repeat. Birds of a feather like to flock together, but so often they will leave you in the street. And I went, oh, wow. You took me far from the ground to bring me all the way back to the earth. And that is the type of songs that I've been channeling. I am sitting on literally 5,000 of the greatest melodies that not that I've ever written, that I have ever heard. Execution dependent, these will be some of the greatest songs that have ever been completed on earth. And I have not been able to make them because it's just, I can only make so many songs at once. And with bands and everything takes so long. When I started messing with the AI, part of it was just to get some songs out of me that really meant a lot to me. Something I wrote for my mom, something I wrote for my daughters and my sons. And I wanted to make these songs for them and send them off to them. So I started making all these things and sending them around. And then I was like, oh, healing frequencies. I'm going to start doing that. I started doing the healing frequencies. And I had a notebook filled with dozens of songs that I had written over the past 8 years. And I'd moved on to another notebook. And I just opened that notebook and I started picking all my favorite songs. So this album came from 60 of my favorite things that I had taken the time to jot down because I just needed to get it out of me during this time when I was growing spiritually. Now, granted, I've grown quite a bit more since then, and these songs have not stopped. So I have been looking for an outlet to be able to get these things out, and to do 20 albums will not only be easy, it'll be a joy. I've been waiting to do this. I've been waiting to be able to just, at my pace, whenever I want to, sit down and complete some of these beautiful songs that I've written. And I'm so grateful, actually, to the AI that I'm able to do this and able to do this in this way where it's more than just the songs and my words and my voice or whatever. It's the frequency. It's the resonance. I don't have to talk about the advocacy of me and what I do. I could talk about the advocacy of music in general, and these frequencies. So I'm just excited about it because I'm going to do a campaign for every one of these. And I'm going to do it very much like this, a little 1,000 limited. And it'll be the thing where over time, as people come to know, they'll know we got to get in quick so we can get the ones that are groovy. And I'll reproduce this album in the future, but not in this special limited edition that we're offering. Not, the lyric sheets. We're doing 11 lyric sheets for the 11 songs where I'm going to handwrite all the lyrics and sign them. I'm creating relics from all these things amongst the people who care. And really, it's just a nice excuse to interact with people like you, Arnie, that I love, and promote the advocacy of healing with music. So it's going to be a while. But I honestly, I don't think before you know it, most of this is going to be done. Because it's really just going to be one campaign after another. And, I'm probably going to get ahead of myself at a certain point in time. And I'll be like, I'm putting out 2 records because I'm enjoying doing it so much. I made 60 tracks in less than 3 months.
Wow. The important thing, too, I believe, anyway, is you're recording it. You're doing it all yourself. You're having them produced yourself, which means there's no tampering in between.
None.
So when people receive the CD or when they do the actual digital download, it's going to be the frequencies that you recorded at. Unlike YouTube, whereas when you upload, it will alter through the algorithm. It'll change the frequencies.
Yeah.
So that's very important too.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel really blessed, honestly. It's awesome. I didn't know what I was going to do when I came out of that. Like I said, I was catatonic from falling out the bottom of the rabbit hole. And as soon as I stripped away all of the other albums and just was like, that's what I want to do. I want to do more of that anyway. I'm going to do more of that anyway. And that could help people, on a much deeper level. I don't need the record industry to do that. I could be a one-man band And like, because I write so many genres, you know, like if you listen to the Solfeggio album, it's not one thing, you know, it's not just one type of thing, and you're gonna be like, eventually I got bored. Like, it is a diverse range of different styles of songs and music, you know, within a certain realm of like rockin', pop music, soul, you know, whatever, but a lot of different bells and whistles and different types of melodies all in there. So it's really just a very much my heart on my sleeve. You know, as you said, there is no tampering. It's all me. And I mean, literally, this album is 11 of the songs that I made for me. I was like, I like this enough that I want to be able to hear it for myself, you know? And I really just, I'm great. Like, it's a different experience, you know, like when you're writing things and your intent was that, oh, maybe people will like this. I'm writing this for them, versus the intent was, oh man, you know, I gotta bug up my butt about a couple words that I want to say and a couple songs that I want to sing, and I'm gonna get them out because like it would feel so good to get them out, and then to go all of a sudden go, you know, this has been making me feel so good, maybe I should share them. You know, that it feels so much more genuine to me. I don't know, I like, it's just like it kind of freed me from the ego battle that I was often having, where I didn't want to have an ego. I didn't want to play that game where, you know, it's like, it's all about Jesse. You know, I'm about other people. I tend to talk a lot if I like you, you know, because, and I tend to talk a lot because I get nervous that I'm not going to have enough time with you, because I always tend to feel like, oh, I didn't have enough time. I didn't get to say this. I didn't get to say that. You know, like there's so many things that were in my heart that I couldn't share. So this like solves so many issues for me on a lot of levels, and really just doing an interview like this, I would be, to some degree, I would be like putting it on to talk about my music. Like I would have to, because I would be thinking about it in terms of like, I'm talking about myself and this music that I make. But to talk about this like this, I don't have to put on anything. And I have just been able to show up to every interview and every little thing that I've written about it and just write from this place of just exuberance and real passion of that. Oh, no, it's really good. You really don't like it. I'm like, I'm sure you will. So it's cool.
I have a message for you from
You do?
Focus on chakras outside of yourself, in your toroidal field, in your auric field, your soul star.
Okay.
That's your next pathway after you finish some stuff. Focus on the frequencies, because we're not, me, you, Arnie, and a couple of other people are already there on 5-6 level D thinking.
Yeah.
And we might need to have somebody who can tap in like you can, who's musically inclined, to come up with different frequencies for those chakras that are outside of us, but are us.
Oh, are you saying essentially the corresponding dimensions, the higher dimensions?
Correct.
Oh,
Some attention frequencies.
Very interesting. Because that's funny that you say that. Because I was thinking about that the other day, of just like, you know, within the framework of that I'm doing these like 20 records, it's all 3, you know, 333, 432. Like, who's to say that there's not 5,550,000? Like, oh, maybe that frequency is as well. That's really interesting, because like I would even have to look at that. I wonder. There's so many questions I have about that. You know, when it comes to numbers, some things to think about. Some people's, you don't have to count by 10. You don't have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then wrap around, start again. You could count 11, and 11 is a unique new number, right? And then 12, right? And then at 12, you go back and you start at the 1 again, right? So instead of going to 10, where now all of a sudden we start 11, we're using the 1 again, 12, we're using the 2 again. You could go 2 numbers more with 2 unique, just got in 2 extra characters, and now you have a 12 repeating pattern, right? And there are actual number systems that exist on planet Earth that are like this. Theoretically speaking, you could count 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and like 4 is 10. 1, 2, 3, 10, 11, 12, 13, 20, 1, 2, 23, 30. That counts. That is a number system. So the interlocking patterns that like occur with numbers, it's different in every system. But of course, at the same time, numbers are real. You know, there's a 1 thing, here's another thing. It doesn't really matter how you count. What matters is the idea of like, can we fold it? How many times can we fold it? Can we fold it 3 times? Can we fold it 4 times? You know, like, how many can you put into that? What happens when you cut that in thirds? What happens when you cut that in fourths? That's what's making up like these spectacular, you know, sweet spot numbers within numerology and whatever else that, you know, leads to these great frequencies. So the idea that it would continue on up, yeah, like absolutely, like and like.
We do have chakras that are outside of us because that formulates our higher self, our oversoul, and the other dimensional fractals that we are. But we're not there musically, in essence, yet to hear it with this human body. So if there is something to be able to tackle on a higher dimensional scale, on a sub frequency or an oscillation where, oh, wow, if I do this combination of numbers and I am pitching up this high, I'm using these kind of tones, I might hit the higher frequency chakras where a lot of us who are already advanced, oh, we listen to this. Now I feel more grounded because this 432, yeah, in this vehicle hits, but my consciousness that's now 5th, 6th, 7th density is like, oh, I'm scattered. I need something bigger to.
Yeah, that, you know, I've been kind of the mind of like, I know the more I work in this space, the more downloads I'm going to get. Like even like you saying that to me, I'm going back to my place later, and I'm going to smoke tonight and meditate, and I will probably have some sort of, you know, because now I'm going to go to meditation, I'm going to open up my chakras, and then I'm going to go, should I open up my chakras? And I go, okay, let me, and I'll try to feel my way through what that is, you know, whatever. And depending on how, you know, connected I can get, I will certainly, you know, I may get downloads of music and melodies and, you know, things that, because they were like, you know, in association with all these different things. Yeah, I do believe that that's absolutely. I'm not going to forget that you said that, and it's already been on my mind like a little bit, just on the fringe. So it's interesting you saying that, because it's like you're pointing out a thought that I've had multiple times, but I haven't like gone into the thought. I've just kind of gone, suppose it would go higher too, you know, like I just moved on with my life. Yeah, that's cool. Somebody asked me social media. The only social media that I'm still like really actively on, you can find me on a lot of places. Like I'm technically on Instagram, 6-inch City, but there's only posting that happens. It's a carryover from my Facebook. My personal Facebook. I have a professional Facebook. I have like, I don't know, 13,000 fans or something. When I post, 3 people see. On my personal page, when I post, you know, a few dozen people at least will see. And I have a lot of friends like Arnie and Michael Zinn and people that I like on my Facebook. So Facebook's the one place where I still hang out a little bit, you know, at least if you want to like message me or anything. But you can email me directly, Jesse Blaze at jessesnider.com. If anything that I said, you know, speaks to you and you want to ask me a question or anything, I'm very usually pretty cool about that stuff. You know, and really like, you know, getting into the Kickstarter world with me is really the thing. Let me plead with you all, everybody who's watching, like, I need your help. I need people to get behind what I'm doing, people who go, he's not crazy. I need to create separate systems. I need to be able to support these networks of people. I know so many talented people. There's so many wonderful people that I'm trying to bridge and connect and empower through empowering myself. This isn't about me. This is about changing the world. I am a creative person. I'm not a leader by choice. I am a leader by necessity. Nobody is willing to do what needs to be done. So I know that I can do it. I know that if I put myself in charge of every apparatus on planet Earth tomorrow, that the planet would be better tomorrow, and that would steadily improve until I got done. I know that, you know, there's like, you can't have communism because who's ever left in charge is just going to hoard it all for themselves. Not me. And I know that. And I know that we need somebody like that to be doing this. I need somebody like that in comics to be empowering the talented writers and the talented artists. I need somebody like that in music to be helping some of these wonderful artists, somebody like Chris Sanchez, who used to be from a band called The Mercurial. You know, Chris doesn't freaking do anything in music. Nobody knows who Chris Sanchez is. He's one of the most talented guys I've ever met in my life. And I as soon as my business is in a place where I can feed my kids and I can feed myself and I'm taking care of myself the right way, well, who do you think is getting the phone call? Chris is, and all of these artists and all of these writers and these wonderful people. I come up in this business where all the doors were closed, and the only way to get through them was to jump through the same broken hoops as we jumped through yesterday. And the only way to get out of this is to create new systems. And we need people who are system-minded. I am. And I honestly, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be in charge. I'm so tired of being accused of being an egomaniac and like all these other things. I'm so terrified to like be in my full power and do all the things that I do well, because there's one part of me that's terrified that people are going to hate me because I'm powerful at doing powerful things, you know. And don't hate me, don't hate others. Cheer everybody on. Let everybody be powerful. You know, there are some wonderful people out there who are trying to do good things, and we need them. We need to empower them. And something like Kickstarter, if you can go donate $1, you can't afford anything, to this campaign, just so you can be a part of the notifications as things go out on Kickstarter. You know, follow what I'm doing, so that, because this is the beginning. This album will continue. But the next thing I'm doing is this Sugar and Bones magazine, which is a creative endeavor. You know, it's like heavy metal magazine, but it's a magazine for creative people. And then we're going into the hemp toys. We need to get plastic. Petroleum-based plastic needs to go. It needs to go. It needs to go immediately. It needs to go yesterday. And I need you guys there on that campaign. I need all of these people to be supporting these endeavors. It's a long game. Even if you don't like music and you're not interested in this, fucking support me anyway. If you recognize that I am an agent of change who is trying to actually legitimately alter this system for once and for good forever. You know, this is just the beginning. You know, this was something that was relatively, like, this was free for me because I made it all myself. I made it with the AI. I don't have to share any money with anybody. Granted, you know, Michael Zinn's going to make 5% because he made all of like the art on the page, and one of my other friends is doing promo, and he's going to get 2.5%, and my other friend gets 2.5%. So there are some people who are also benefiting from this thing. And of course, the more I can do this, the more those people are going to be employed. And I believe me when I say, everybody that I know, all the people in my circle, they are like Arnie. You know this man? You love this man? What a sweet guy. What a forward-thinking guy. Trying to help the world. Those are the people that I jive with. Those are my teammates. I've got just the most wonderful people, and I've got so many more beyond them, but I just don't have any money to give them right now. And they all need money just to work in the world and to survive. And so, you know, all these things, when you go on Kickstarters, you know, the price points are usually a little bigger, but it's a fundraiser. You're helping somebody who is at the disadvantage of all these corporations and all these other things, all these other music companies. You're helping somebody to do it a new way. And please, if you want to see new things, like just think of 3 people that you love, who love music, are intellectual and spiritual, or one of those things, and send this to them directly. Say, this guy Jesse, you know, he really cares about people. He's really open to the things that we're open to, and he's trying to change music. You know, I think you'd like this. Help him out. I need help. And I used to be very afraid to say that out loud, to ask for help, I need help, you know. But there's I need help, and there's I need help. And that's what it is. You know, I can't do this alone. And the more people come in to help me, the more, I promise you guys, if you empower Jesse Blaze Snider, you are going to empower the masses. Because forever and a day, since I was a little kid, I was the son of D. Snider. And the one thing that I had over regular people was this silly societal power that I came from celebrity. And I have used it every single day of my life to lift people up, to make people who felt, you know, stupid or insignificant feel like they were on my level. We were equal. It's all the same. Yes, no, don't talk to me like that. We're friends. It's cool. I love you. Let's go. You know, and only people who don't get me, you know, ever mistake that. You know, the people who get me, you know, I have a lot of wonderful friends in this world who get me, like Arnie. And I really appreciate every one of you, Arnie. It means a lot to me when people, it's gonna make me cry. When people see me and understand, because it's been such a frustration being on Earth trying to do good by people, and just feeling like I think I'm speaking English, but I don't seem to be communicating. properly with these people. I told them I love them. I think they heard I love myself. You know, like I hate myself. I don't know why they thought I love myself. I really don't like me at all. You know, like now I love myself. It took a long time to get there.
Jesse, we're gonna wrap this up now. So all the links that Arnie has provided to me will go at the end of this on YouTube. I'm 2 channels on YouTube and also out on Rumble. And for anybody that is interested in, he provided, I think, about 4 or 5 links to me. So I will put them all out there.
Too that have some cool information in them. I think Arnie might have shared with you as well. There's a lot of really cool stuff on the page. It's really just, it's everything to me. And you know, my goal here is I want to raise $33K. You know, 5,000 is like our bare minimum. But if I make 5,000, you know, I'll make a money, and I'm gonna have to use it to stabilize my life in one way or another, because I'm always investing in myself and trying to build this thing. But if I can make about $33K, this magazine is going to launch within like a month or 2 of the end of this campaign, and then the Hemp Goblins will launch within a month or 2 of the end of that campaign, because I can immediately get all of the designs going on for all the things that I need for all these campaigns. So, you know, really, like, you know, that's my goal personally. If you go to the campaign and you see, Jesse, you're going to get 33, keep it in your mind for you. 33 days, $33,000. Visualize it for me. Help me bring this into existence. I promise you, it's not going to all be embezzled into fucking drugs or something. You know, it's going to go to building an empire of love and understanding. The one that we have been waiting for. Granted, I'm hoping that as I get there, I'm going to see that other people are there too, and I'm not the only one, and it's easy for us to form like Voltron, and we can all just kind of lean on each other and just keep building this thing up, because, you know, we're just little islands in the Caribbean. You know, we're going to slowly put all the boats together until we got a big one. And then when we're doing it the new way, the old system, they're going to drag us into their system. They're going to start adopting what we do. And then before you know it, we're going to be a part of the system, but the system will have transformed. And I really just, I've thought about this long and hard. I've done the hard work. And I deserve your money and your time and your trust and your efforts and anything that you put my way. I know that, oh my God, you have no idea how much I love you and how much I appreciate you. Arnie, thank you so much for having me on. It's wonderful. There's so many people, so many like-minded people. I just see everybody in the comments and everything. Like, really, like, what a gift this was to bring me on here. I had no idea what to expect. You know, maybe it'll be a few people. I said to Digger, one of my partners earlier today, I said, I'm going on, I said like big at first, a big spiritual show. And I was like, well, I don't know if it's big. It's probably little. But who cares? Like, as long as they get it, I don't care, you know? And this is so much like beyond my wildest dreams of like just like so many wonderful people really just the fact that there's no one in the comments going, shut this asshole up. I'm like, oh my God, really? Have I found a place where people are getting me that I just like am passionate?
Yeah, this community is just awesome. It always has been. So
whenever and talk about anything fun. I love talking about crazy things. I like making them not scary, because they are scary when you first hear about them.
Yeah. Thank you, Arnie. Allie, do you have anything to add before we say good night?
No. Jesse, thank you. Appreciate you being on, because your wisdom needs to be spread and your talents need to be out there more.
Oh my goodness.
And you do want to help people, and that's what's really important.
I do. I really do. I love us. You know, I think that this could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It is. It's a lot of fun. It's not fun when we do it the way that we've been doing it, but it could be really great.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, everybody. This was fun. It was very interesting, by the way. And we'll see you back here soon in the near future.
You got it.
Good night, everybody.
All right. Thank you.